This week's episode of Podular Modcast is brought to you in part by the new Catalyst sequencer from 4MS. Combines a traditional clocked step sequencer with an unconventional phase-based sequencer to produce a new paradigm in sequencing. And this phase-based sequencing got me to thinking I bet this would pair very nicely with the spherical wavetable navigator, or SWAN, because it has 6 independent oscillators that can all receive their own CV, and also 6 independent LFOs that can trigger the oscillators' individual VCAs, but also have their own outputs. So I thought, how about I clock the SWAN with the Catalyst, but run one of the LFO outputs on the SWAN to the phase input of the Catalyst. I'm also using the Tree sequential switch from Mystic Circuits and the Acid Rain switchblade. And I'm basically using these two switches as a sort of clock divider. That way the LFO out from the SWAN that's going into the phase CV of the Catalyst sequencer isn't affecting the phase every time the LFO is fired. And because the Catalyst is not only good at gate and quantized CV sequencing, it is also a really powerful source of modulation. So I'm using some of the channels from the Catalyst to modulate the Ikari filter from Bastel, as well as some of the parameters on the SWAN. Back to another episode of Podular Modcast. My name is Tim Held. This week we are going to do a little artist on artist kind of crossover podcast with my really close friend Jared Carter, who is an amazing painter, an amazing tattoo artist. Jared and I grew up kindergarten through senior year. We're in bands together. Jared also tattoos Hannah, and they have become quite good buddies, which just warms my heart. And we still talk a couple times a year at length about, just being artists. And the reason I thought Jared would be a good guest is because, one of my favorite aspects of our friendship is how supportive and motivating we are for each other when it comes to both of our individual artistic pursuits. I really don't want to belabor this or be overly sentimental about it, but Jared is one of the closest people in my life for the last 35 years. So it's very meaningful for me to have him on the show and share some of his wisdom with you guys. So why don't I just go get tattooed? You can watch and listen to me get tattooed while I introduce you to the guy who taught me how to ride a bike without training wheels. But before we get into that, let me say thank you to everybody who supports PodMod on Patreon. I couldn't do the show without your support, and I could use a little more. So if you like the show, I would appreciate a little support. You can head over to patreon.com/Podular Modcast. And I would also like to thank this week's featured artist, Get Still, whose track Transitions is playing below my voice right now, for their submission of this track. If you would like one of your tracks to be played on PodMod, then please email me at podmodsub@gmail.com. And in that email, include a bio, album art, any links you want shared, and of course, a WAV file of your preferred track. So once again, thank you to this week's featured artist, Get Still. I'm going to stop my yammering. Let's enjoy this track.
Do you want that tray up there?
The tray?
Yeah, for your coffee and stuff. Here.
That might be nice.
Then Hannah can use it too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Such a sweet boy.
Indeed. Indubitably.
Oh, that's a good angle of my butt. That's like this?
Yeah.
All right. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podular Modcast. My name's Tim Held. And if you're watching the video, then you see that I am in a tattoo parlor. And I am moments away from having a needle jabbed in my arm. Why am I doing this episode here? That seems like kind of dumb. Hannah and I took the day off to come get tattoos from my best friend in the whole wide world, Jared Carter. He's right behind me.
Hi.
So Jared, I was wondering, I kind of had a general idea. I'd like to, chat with you and have my audience get to know someone who's just so goddamn important to me. And I was going to tell the whole story, but I thought maybe I would, wherever you want to start it or however you want to do it. And yes, you can embarrass me, but let's try to keep it clean.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I mean, like, we can say the fuck word and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Did I say enough to give you something to go off of?
I would say, I've known you for so long that it's kind of like family. And if there was things that I would say about you, it'd be,
Oh, I'm not looking for you to, I guess go ahead, compliment.
Validate me. I would say, incredible musician, funny.
Of course.
Enjoys getting tattooed. Just kidding.
So far, so good. Not so bad. You got a gentle touch.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, just there's so many things I could say. And as far as this is going, is like the podcast and stuff. Like, it's so cool to see you doing that, because I think that you being such a good artist, that having this outlet to do it is cool for everybody to see. Like, people, I always felt like people should see what you're up to, because you do awesome stuff, man. I don't know.
I appreciate you saying that, and that's one of the reasons I was like, oh, this would be a cool idea.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jared's an artist. He's a ridiculously good painter. I'll flash some of his work on screen throughout. You just busted your ass and learned how to tattoo, and I was your practice pad for a while.
Yeah.
You are super inspirational to me, to try to succeed to some degree off of your art and make it and be able to spend more time doing that is so hard to do.
Yeah, I think us being in a band together when we were younger and growing up, learning to play instruments together and just being in the art stuff, it's made it, obviously it's natural for us to talk about that kind of stuff in our
totally
conversations. And they're always motivating too. I think that's the other thing too. Sometimes we need to talk to each other about that stuff so that we re-motivate ourselves.
Oh, dude, you were instrumental in relighting the fire for me for, going into 2024. I swear, after our conversation, it really gave me a whole new just lit the fire. And
right. How can you do something different? I think that it's good to change it up and try new stuff, because even if maybe you don't get a ton out of trying something new, or you don't think you are, you're probably picking up a little something, or at least picking up the fact that, wow, that's what I don't want to do. I think changing it up like that too, maybe it's not really helping your business so much at that moment. It's but as artists, having those changes can change your everyday. That can make something better later on,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of like when you hang a really good piece of art on your wall in your house or something, it changes the mood coming in. So changing up just your setup at your studio, it could do the same thing.
There's a feng shui. Actually, Justin, so our good friend Justin, He kind of like when me and him were in the band together, and had this like the studio in the barn. He really taught me the value of like getting a nice tidy workspace to start with.
Right.
And it's just like you don't have the weird, like sometimes even subconscious percolating anxiety of just being in kind of a messy environment.
Yeah.
So what is your painting studio or setup like?
I think the biggest thing for that would be having a space where all your paint's actually laid down, because the hardest thing about even doing it is just starting to mix your color. Like I always tell people that are trying to learn to paint and stuff, or they say, you know, I want to paint more, and it's literally like just sit down and squeeze the paint out of the tube and just start. So I have an area where, like a table, that I can just lay all the paint I want down on it. And
is it just like a butcher block, like wood top?
Typically it's like right now it's not. I have this little stand, but it typically has like a piece of glass on it, so that way I can make a huge mess on it and then just scrape it off.
And you use oil paint?
Yep. So, but I mean, really that is the hardest thing, is to sit down and start. So many people think about you know, their design or whatever, like going through their head about making it perfect right off the bat. But I think that art, you know, when I start making a design even for a tattoo, well, right off the bat it's not perfect, but then that's what I'm doing though, is like trying to get it to where in my mind it's perfect.
And because you don't like, you buy pretty much primary colors and then just mix your own mostly, right?
Yeah, for the most part. Like, you know, I mix up all my own blacks, all that kind of stuff. But, and always the hardest thing though is just to sit down and start mixing up my paint. Because once that's done,
it's really hard. And that's like why getting the studio like organized and set up for me is important, because I need to be able to just start doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And for me also, I think having a time set aside, like I wake up every day at about like 4:30 before like my kids and fiance and stuff's up.
You've got a son, that's right.
Yep.
I totally forgot. I did not forget.
Yeah.
That's a joke,
and
but that makes sense as to why you wake up so good.
Right. Yeah. That way you're not being bugged by the kiddos. And also, it's just nice that, you know, I go through my little routine in the morning of, you know, watching some or reading up on some news that will make me angry. And then, and then, yeah, totally. That really, it's like a cup of coffee. And then basically I'll, you know, have it all timed out too, I guess. Like, I know that part of the day is meant for, you know, painting and doing that kind of stuff. So I really enjoy my mornings now. I mean, when I was younger, I hated waking up early for construction, but now that I wake up on my own terms, that's just what I like to do. And I also think that for me anyways, that's like the time where I feel most, after, you know, 35 minutes of waking up, I'm the most active. So I enjoy getting up and doing that. And yeah, it helps for me. I think that's a big thing though, is having a station where you know all your stuff's at, and then also creating a time to do those things.
Yeah. And making it a priority.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Is that little like office room when you walk in the house on the left? Is that where you paint as well?
Yeah.
Or you paint the garage?
Yep, all in there. It's big enough for, like right now I have a huge canvas going in there.
I was gonna say, because sometimes you have like pretty big pieces. But
yeah, like the one I'm working on right now is like a 5 foot by 4 foot.
What is it?
I'm working on it's kind of like a statuesque piece. If you remember ever watching the old movie Devil's Advocate.
Oh yeah.
And you remember the wall that moved with all the characters on it? So it's based off of that.
When Al Pacino, what is it? Great ass.
Yeah. Al Pacino.
He's like full on crazy Pacino in that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's kind of what the piece is based off of. I just thought it looked cool. It's
now with that, do you have reference images that you look at, or do you just like do it from the drawing?
Yeah, I use reference images, put them through Procreate,
Oh, okay, yeah. But you don't like do that, like you tailor them to look like.
Yeah, how I'm wanting it.
Yeah. You're on Modular Modcast, Anna.
Oh.
I didn't sign up. I have not really signed my release for.
Okay, well, I know
Well, you're in it now.
How's it feel?
So far, so good. I mean, not good, but like it's not like it's fine.
I'm being gentle.
He's being nice and gentle. He's being a sweetie.
What a guy.
Boy.
Yeah. So, well, Bill Callahan says, "Morning is my godmother," and I feel like artists. It kind of, like, from what I've gathered, it's like there are two camps. There's like the wake up early because that's when my bubbles, are blowing. But and then there's the witching hour, the night owl, which that's what I am.
Right.
I do, like, I get the most, like, holy shit, I want to create, like, later. And if I go to a concert, like, or like even we went to the ballet. Saw this like Philip Glass ballet last weekend, which was amazing. And we get home at midnight or whatever, and I am just amped. Like I want to make art right now because seeing good art, makes me like.
Oh, totally. Especially if I go to like a tattoo convention. And
I was gonna ask. You're a little bit of a competitive guy.
Yeah, I love that part.
I think we both like came up. It might be a '90s kid thing, but just being like driven by spite a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'll
I think.
Fucking show you.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's a good thing to have that competitive deal with it,
even with yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it pushes you. I think it's just one of those things where I see other people that are in the same field as me putting out really good stuff, and so when I'm at next to them tattooing, I think you got to do your best job, and
right. Kind of keeps you honest with your craft a bit.
Yeah, and I think like I enjoy watching other artists that are really good do things that I'm like, oh, like you can do it like that, I'm gonna try it like that. Those things help. So.
Right, yeah, picking up a little bit here and there. And I feel like that kind of stuff like seeps into just your artist brain too, like.
Right. I feel that way with like just like I was saying, like the conventions and stuff. It could just be the way I'm watching somebody wipe the tattoo. I mean, there's so many little things that maybe I do a little differently, and it's kind of like figuring out maybe how to break my own little bad habits or yeah.
I imagine at like in a convention setting, like you're talking to other artists, picking their brain and asking questions about what they're doing. You have a curiosity about you that you can't really stop. Like you're always trying to get better at what you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. I feel anybody that's in well, I mean, kind of anything, but definitely art, like what's in your head, whether it's music or art, that you're visually seeing, like you want to be able to portray that, so you'll do whatever it takes to get there.
Right.
And learn from whoever and set your ego aside, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, get out of your own way too. It's funny with the paint thing that you mentioned earlier, like how do you get started? Oh, we'll just go throw some paint down. Jared knows my dad very well.
Jimbo.
And Jimmy G is a weird guy. So he had, surprise, he had just this styrofoam white, like alien looking head. It was like a styrofoam mannequin head. So naturally I took it and painted some eyes and stuff, and Hannah named the head Zojo, and now Zojo has become like this alien character that is popping up in the podcast.
Yeah.
And now I'm working on this like super stupid, ridiculous like short film about Zojo. And I was showing some of the like cuts and stuff that I've got so far to my friend Steven last night, and he's like, why, like, what, this is ridiculous, why are you doing this? And I was like, because I really want to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I don't have any ideas right now for like a film to try to make, so until I have a good idea, I'm just gonna make stupid shit to just practice the craft.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think, like you said, you're learning to do it, and so you got to go through those things where it's like, maybe it's not the best right now, but it will be,
Right. And what if I, a great, like, short film idea, a great, to me, short film idea comes into my head. Well, then when that does happen and I decide to make it, I am not making my first short film,
Yeah.
Like, it's like, if you were going to do it, like, if you were getting started on painting and you wanted to have a painting in a gallery, you'd probably not try to make your first painting the one that goes in the gallery.
Right. Yeah, and I think no matter what, like, you're going to be, like, putting out your new film, you'll probably be a little nervous or whatever too.
I think it's because I'm happily married to somebody who loves me and accepts me.
Yeah.
So I've already put a bunch of Zojo shit into the episodes. I didn't ask anybody if they wanted that.
Right.
Like, I just kind of do. Which I am learning to not just put everything out, because I realize, like, I've put out so much music, and not all of it, I don't, like, in retrospect, I'm like, that didn't necessarily need to be something that I was like, hey world, I think you should check this out, like, just because I made it doesn't mean I need to release it. So I am getting better with that, but yeah, as far as, like, I think the only thing that I would be really super nervous about, and it's still something that I'm considering, but, like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna have the courage to do it, is doing something with, like, vocals in it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know that I have all that much to proclaim lyrically. I'm not as angsty. I'm not, like, my old writing style, because I listened to punk and metal, was kind of like, spiteful, and it was almost like a looking down your nose talking shit, like trying to be funny and, like, but it was just more like, yeah, you're just kind of an asshole. And if there was anything that I wanted to say, I don't know if it's something that hasn't been said before, and I don't know that I could find a way that I thought was a worthwhile new way to say something,
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the listeners out there how you got into, like, painting and tattooing, because, like, you were the guy that had, like, the natural ability, but you didn't, like, do it all the time. You'd have, like, maybe spells of a week or month or something. What was it? We were probably 23 or 4, and you just fucking you just laser focused, and then, like, got good really fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, that comes down to the competitiveness too of what you're saying, as far as, like, getting good, all that stuff kind of quickly. I think it's just super competitive. I just always have been, and the way I got into it was my mother always just buying art supplies for me when I didn't even ask. I don't know if she must have seen something in it. And,
that's cute.
Yeah, and I think because I had siblings that beat me up all the time and everything,
Shit.
that it was, like, competitive, I got
you were
something.
the youngest of 4, and your family is a pretty scrappy, like, no nonsense. You guys will bust balls, and
yeah. So I mean, it, made me competitive, though. I think too, because it was one of those things that, since she seen it, would buy it for me. I thought, well, she ain't buying it for my brother. She ain't buying it for my sister, so I'm gonna do a good job at it, And then I think as I got older and really got into art and stuff, it was just kind of a way out of regular work.
Yeah, that's what I remember, and I like, going back to what I was saying earlier with, like, seeing you pull it off and how, like, inspiring it was for me. You have this way of bending the world around you to your will in a way that is kind of sometimes it's troubling, but it's very impressive.
Well, it doesn't feel like it in the moment, that's for sure.
Like when you have an idea and you're like, I'm gonna do it, it's not an aspiration as much as it is. It's more like, this is my plan and it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing, is like you have the feeling. If you have the feeling, then it will work, right? Like you could say whatever, but maybe it won't happen because you don't feel it, you know? Like,
I feel that.
Right?
That's getting tender there.
Yeah.
It's been pretty easy going so far, but
time to lay down the law.
Yeah, that one is. That's a hot zone there.
But I think that's I think that anybody has what you're talking about. Like, it's not just me or some weird thing. I think it's just that once I get hyped about something, I'm like, oh, I gotta do it, you know? I'm sure that like all your listeners that do music and all that stuff too, maybe kind of like we were talking, when you go to somewhere motivating, like whether it's a museum or a concert or whatever, it'll give you an idea, and then through that motivation, you get a feeling of like, this could work. And I feel like, as long as you have that thing in your head where like you don't give a shit what the naysayers are going to tell you, or you're not afraid to be embarrassed, like you're going to be able to do it probably. I mean, it's like that corneal line has always rang true, which is like the man who says he can and the man who says he can are both, right. Like if you feel you can, you will. Like I do believe in that kind of stuff.
It's like going for it, but also seeing the right moves along the way, like to make it happen. And that's something that I've always looked up to you, because I feel like I am more of I'm like a chaotic tornado. Like my family describes me as a tornado.
Right.
They're like, Tim is around if it looks like a tornado has blown through every room. I mean, look at all of the look. It looks like a tornado blew up in here. Yeah. I've got bags and shoes and cords, and it's like.
Yeah, but that works for you.
I mean, I work around it, and I figured that out. But like, I am slowly, like with this, getting this new stuff and figuring out a new way to like control my cameras, for instance, and stuff. Like, I'm trying to find ways to. Well, I guess I'm starting to go off on another thing, but what I'm speaking to is you have good foresight, I think, with this kind of stuff, as far as making the right decisions. When you decided to be a tattooist and have your own studio, from that moment until you had a successful business, like, what are we talking, 2-3 years? 2. That's insane, dude, because like 2 years is like, you should be an apprentice under a tattooist for like 2 years probably. Yeah. Well, I think that... But you and Tony both got really good really fast.
Yeah, I think a huge thing is being around people who are good or are motivated is one, and then it kind of goes back to that whole thing that we were just talking about, if you go to the places that motivate you to do the thing you want to do. So like, I remember when I first, before I even bought a tattoo machine, I went to a guy I knew that tattooed for years, him, Clayton, and asked him if I could apprentice, and he said no, but you can come and watch me tattoo, and I'll tell you what I'm using, yada yada. So all my free time at that point, from construction and stuff, so after work, on the weekends, you name it. Like,
I didn't know that. You were just going and
I'd just go there and sit and watch, and that's it. Okay. I would do it for hours. I'd just keep my mouth shut too, so I didn't bother him, and I would just watch. And then, obviously, when I felt I had the chance, I'd be like, hey, what kind of liner are you using? What's the brand? What's this? What's that? And then at the time, YouTube wasn't a big thing, but you could get on the internet, because this was, 2011, I think.
It was a thing, but it was not the University of YouTube like it is now. Right,
where you can find some info. But that's what I feel like I always do with everything that I start to get obsessed about, though, is all obsessed to the point where it's like, just learn. And even if you had to go, be that kid that's sitting there by the professional who's just letting you watch and you kind of feel awkward. It's like, I didn't feel awkward though. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I am going to do this. I'm going to be good at it, you know? And it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just I mean, I'm looking, you have a number of awards hanging up on this shelf that's out of frame, but just recently you got 2 different awards at the last convention?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, so that convention, I've been going to it for about,
Which one is it?
It's called the Evergreen Tattoo Invitational. You know, I've been doing that convention. It's an invitational. So I had to get invited, you know, based off your work, which is, you know, difficult, it's scary.
Yeah. So you submit just like drawings or photos of your
tattoo work. Yeah. And that was like 5 years ago.
Hard to pick. Like if I had to submit like 5 songs out of my catalog, it would be pretty.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little weird, and I didn't know if I'd make it or not, but we did, and me and Tony did. And then the thing about that convention, though, for the last like 5 years or so that I've been going.
Let's pause until they're done talking.
Oh, okay.
I want people to hear this part. And
No worries.
Podular Modcast will be back in a moment after these messages. Please pardon the break in the show, but I wanted to show you this little jam that I did in the tattoo parlor while Hannah was being tattooed, using the Novation circuit tracks, the polycinematic from Knobula, and the Catalyst sequencer from 4MS. And what I've got going on here is the circuit tracks is playing the drum beat that you hear, and then I'm running the MIDI out from the circuit tracks into the polycinematic to get this nice little melody. Here in a moment we're gonna hear the Swan come in, and that is being sequenced by the Catalyst sequencer, which is being clocked by the Bastel Neo Trinity, which is being clocked from the sync output of the circuit tracks. And then on the effect side, I am using the Basel delay, the Ikari filter from Bastel, and the Mojave from Cubit. And I've yet to put my money where my mouth is on this, but I think I could pull off a 30 to 35 minute set with this small setup, because within the circuit tracks, I can have a bunch of different projects to switch between, and that can be set as well for the Catalyst sequencer with all of the randomization options as well as the phase sequencing. All I'd have to do is get a handful of projects that I really like fleshed out on the circuit tracks, and then create sequences on the Catalyst that pair nicely with those projects. All of this paired with some clever switching, the circuit tracks, Catalyst sequencer, and Neo Trinity's ability to be played manually, I would have a lot of room for improv as well. Back to Podular Modcast with Jared Carter, the extraordinaire. Okay, so I'm gonna have you belabor this story because I want to know, but like the process of choosing how many like pieces you have to submit to be considered?
Gosh, I can't even remember. It was so long ago, you know, because it was that was like pre-COVID. I think I started going there in like 2016, 17.
Okay, so like you've got in every year since?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So once you're in, you kind of get in. Yeah.
The only like kind of analog I could think of from my own experience would be like, okay, well, am I going to pick my favorite songs out of my catalog, or am I going to try to pick the ones that I think maybe show the widest range of what I can do? Or like, how do you make that decision?
I think it was just, things that I love the most.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that's what it should always kind of come down to. Like, what are the projects that I love the most that I felt I did best on, that are in the style I want to portray. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I picked to get the invite,
Were any of my tattoos?
No, definitely not. That's why we're covering this tattoo.
Well, yeah, just to be clear, of course I would get my tattoos from you anyways, but talking about how amazing of an artist Jared is, he didn't start at the level that he's at right now.
No, a lot of fumbling.
And you need to practice. And when you're a poor guy like I was then, who loved tattoos but had no money to spend on them, and your best friend is like, hey, I'll give you free tattoos if you let me practice on you. It was a good deal. But, and, you know, to be honest, some of them that even some of like the early ones you did,
Yeah.
I still really like and think you did a great job on. But, you know, there are a couple.
Well, the ability that I had back then, I should have been paying you. Yeah, I mean, that's just the truth. But yeah, you go through all that, you know, I mean, that I think that's the same thing as like even in tattooing, even though it's permanent, this and that, you find, you know, a good buddy or even your own leg, because I had to tattoo myself too to really figure out.
Yeah. Remind me, we gotta get shots of both of our I have tattooed Jared as well.
Yes.
Which we still gotta do our bear tattoos, you fucker.
Oh yeah, we do.
So growing up, Jared called me Bear, Tim Bear or Him Bear. And then
He still is that.
yeah, and he decided that he was Cougar. So it's so cute, isn't
The
it?
universe decided that
The
name.
universe decided it.
Yeah.
But so it's Jared is actually Cougar in my phone and has been Cougar in my phone for probably 15 years. Actually, Cougar predates cell phones, so I guarantee you've never been Jared. I bet you every time I've put your number in my
Right.
phone has been Cougar.
Yeah, that's how yours is and mine, but
And
Bear.
So the idea was, is it just Bear?
Yeah.
The idea was I was going to draw a cougar and Jared would draw a bear, and then we would each tattoo them on each other. And we did the cougar, so I drew this stupid, like really bad cougar, and Jared did it on my Achilles heel, and it, you know,
It's awesome.
It's you know, I drew it, so it is what it is. But my tattoo and yours of the same stencil are pretty different tattoos.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna win any convention awards from mine. So back to the convention award.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something you've been going to. So by this last submission, it was kind of like pretty confident you're gonna get in.
Well, now I don't have to do the, you know, try to get in. I mean, because now that once you're accepted, you can come each year.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's cool.
And but pressure-wise, I think I put more pressure on myself now than I did back then, because
I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to too, like that convention. All the last, I think I've been there 4 or 5 years going to that one. I've never gotten an award. It's
from that one in particular.
right.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because there's you know, a bunch of people from Ink Master tattooing at it. There's, you know, the biggest guys that I've looked up to since I started. On, you know, you'll see them on Instagram or in Ink magazines and all that.
For the listeners, this is like the super booth of tattoo convention.
Yeah, it's a huge convention. It's definitely probably one of the biggest ones on the West Coast. One of them, yeah, for sure. And it's, you know, tattooers are flying in from Europe and all over the place to come tattoo at it. And yeah, I've never won anything at that one yet. And all of a sudden this year, I did. And
Do judges just walk around, or do you submit?
So there's different categories. So I won first place portrait this year.
I gotta get that. What was the portrait of? I'll put it on the video.
The portraits were of Michael Jordan tattoos that I did.
I saw that one. That one's and that's a color one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
And then on Saturday, so they have a thing called Tattoo of the Day, which you can work on it for just that day. So Friday, it's a 3-day show.
From the design to the execution of the
Yes,
tattoo?
so it has to be done at the show.
Okay.
So I worked on it 2 days in a row on a gal who's a good friend named Misty, and it was a tattoo of a chimpanzee that's going along.
I saw that one too, yeah.
Yeah, it's going along with her jungle themed leg that I'm doing. So we knocked out a huge piece in 2 days. I worked on her, I think 9.5 hours the first day.
What?
Yeah, and
She sat for 9 hours?
9.5.
9 and 1 day
And
then
yeah,
for more?
and then the second day we did about 8.5 probably.
So the second day, then did you just choose to, all right, I'm gonna work on this portion? Like you didn't work on the same part on day 2 that you didn't.
Some of it I went back into. It's
Really?
kind of a
Oh,
it's
dude.
kind of a no-no, because
Yeah.
you can really hurt, mess somebody up. But
so
bad.
Bad.
Super gentle, went through things that I really needed to get. And she's healing awesome.
Sounds tough.
She's crazy tough. Yeah, I've tattooed like her whole back, her whole stomach.
Oh my God. I
did
can't
all
do
that.
more
Yeah.
than like after 3 hours, that's where it starts to get to where like I feel like I'm being tortured and I would tell you all my secrets. Like
right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've been to quite a few conventions together, me and her, and I've tattooed her, and I remember one day, I think we did like 11 hours. On her.
So wait, when you say you've been to conventions with her, like do you choose to bring like, hey, I'm going to this convention, I think the piece that you want, like if you're talking with clients, do you say, do you want to come to this convention to do it? Is that how that works? Or?
Yeah, so it just, like right now, it's basically Misty she's competitive with her tattoos basically, like she wants to go to all of them and enter and try to win awards with the things we've either previously done or the tattoo we're going to do there. And so she's right now kind of the one, but I have a few other people that are like, hey, anytime you're going to one, let me know. I'd love to go and sit in, So, yeah, right now she's kind of the one, but it goes with me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
A little partner in crime. That's also good too. Like, in that environment, it's probably nice to have somebody that and feel comfortable with too.
Yeah, and I mean, you can do walk-up tattoos at conventions where people walk up to the booth and they want to get tattooed by you. You can do that, but my style of tattooing isn't typically that way because it's all realism, so I need to kind of really plan it out.
Yeah, right.
Whereas like traditional guys at those conventions, they love doing the just walk-up tattoos, which is cool, And
I feel like traditional, neo-traditional artists, like they also, I feel like have like a lot of them have robust portfolios of stuff that they want to do and have yet to do on anybody. So they'd be like, hey, I've got all these.
Yeah. Yeah, they love just knocking out those quick ones that take, hour and a half, something like that. That's like their style. And I mean, most all my stuff on my body's all traditional. So, I mean, I love it. It's just not what I do.
You can kind of do just about anything. And I think you still do this, but you spent a lot of time literally just trying to do as accurate as possible replicas of like some of the great paintings. Art history. Like you've done some stuff that is just spot on.
Oh,
like
thanks.
Your oil paintings, like you have a handful of paintings that when I've seen at first, like it took me like a couple seconds to realize it was a painting and not a photograph.
Yeah.
Like the one of your dad, and you did this one of this like super curly haired dog years ago. That still gets like that looks like a goddamn photo. It's insane, dude.
Yeah. I always tell like new apprentices that, which is like, tattooing's gonna pick you and what you do. You don't really get to pick like, off the bat, like I wanted to be a neo-traditional artist. And
did you?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yep. I thought like, cause that was the stuff that I was getting tattooed on myself at the time. And I don't know, I just thought it looked cool and all that. And then as time went by and I did more and more of it, I was like, I'm just not excellent at it like some of the other guys, so I'm gonna shift. And when I started doing a lot more realism, which aligned with more of the art style I just do, but in tattooing I wanted to be different, I guess, but it didn't work out that way. It's just kind of like, I wanted to do neo-traditional stuff, but I wasn't, I just found that I wasn't as good as some of the other guys at it, so what's the point of to try to beat that dead horse,
That just blows me away because like in appearance, and I think like, and I don't think this is a value judgment, but I think objectively it is just a little bit more simple than like a photorealistic.
Yeah, well, you'd think so, but I mean, when you get into tattooing too, the technicality of doing different stuff, like at first, those first couple of years, I wasn't that great at outlining at all, I still feel like it's like one of my weaker things that I do.
Your line work? That's crazy because I get stopped all the time from these patterns that you're putting on me, and people are like, who did that? That line work is nuts.
That's crazy.
Because it is nuts.
Yeah.
Like Yes.
But see, I have, buddies around me, like Glenn, for instance, who,
Oh yeah,
does...
Glenn he's done a number of tattoos on me.
Yeah.
In fact, he did, I don't think you can see it. He did my Jenny Mermaid tattoo.
Yeah, and he's so good at neo-traditional stuff, but his line work it's ridiculous. Like, he's so good at it.
Yeah.
And so when I see his stuff, I think about mine, and I'm like, yeah, it's not that great.
Yeah. But I think, like you were saying earlier, with like surrounding yourself with the people who are good at the thing that you also want to be good at is absolutely essential.
Totally.
My friends David Lutz and Stephen Jett. So David is like the best fucking modular synthesis.
Yeah.
He's like seriously one of the best that I've ever known or seen. He's a real wizard. And then my friend Steven is an amazing pianist. He used to build pipe organs.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about him.
And now he like restores pianos and has his own piano business. He's just one of those people that can do anything if he just tries.
Yeah.
And it's not just those two. Those guys are like, my musician friends, but like my friend Jenny, for instance, is just like, she's so fucking funny and she's an amazing singer, and I've got all these like amazing friends in my group, and I feel like that has made me like that. I think that's one of the main reasons that I have gotten better at what I do. Like I've been practicing. Like I used to just jam, but now I like practice.
Yeah.
Drums, guitar, singing, modular. Like I try to like, rather than just be like, oh, I'm gonna figure it out and be awesome. I'm like, how do you be awesome? And that's kind of new to me. And I honestly, I think that's why people listen to podcasts like this one, and why I wanted to make this podcast, because I listen to, similar types, and that kind of like gets you super pumped, like
totally.
Somebody out there listening right now, because there's a huge crossover of like graphic artists, whether painting or any sort of like, graphic media, also into synths that are probably,
right.
Maybe they've paused it and went and started working on their own thing because they just couldn't take it anymore, and they're going to come back and listen and finish it later or something.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have people around you that motivate you.
And we were definitely, like, me, you, and Justin were that for each other growing up, being in at the band together and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, especially I feel like with you and me, because you were always able to play drums too. And so when you would get on there and do some cool stuff, I was like, well, since that's what I do, like I should be able to do that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny too, because like, Justin, guitarist, I play guitar, and then we both drummers. When you're a kid and stuff, like maybe that competition is a little more like, oh well, I got to be able to do that because they can. It's this cool now to be older and be like, none of us are better than each other. We just like have our things that we have our own strengths that, and there might be some overlap or something, but like, I was never, and I don't think I could ever be as fast as you were on drums.
Yeah,
you can play very fast. Pretty crazy. I was actually wondering about that the other day. Do you still play really fast? Like, is that still kind of like what gets you pumped, and like
no,
the type of stuff you want to play? Or?
I think when I do sit down and play, which isn't a ton right now, I think it's just, like more like reminiscing of like, stuff, and just trying to learn like new little songs, or you just like
play along with songs that you like, or just like
that, or I'll play along with just instrumental stuff to where I can just lay down my own drums to it. Nice. Yeah, I do that too.
Okay. Dude, I haven't heard you play drums, and I really like years and years. So
right.
I'd be interested to hear you smack the skins around a little.
Not that great, that's for sure.
Dude, it's funny, like. So I've been really, really trying to, because I don't think I was ever like a drummer. I think I was just a guy who could play 4/4 beats, like, and have decent timing, and could do like, just the run of the mill, like standard stuff. But over the last like year and a half since my 20-year break of not having a drum set, I'm better than I've ever been.
Yeah.
Right now, I can't even play as fast as I used to play.
Right.
But I'm just now starting to like try to figure out how to play in something other than 4/4. I mean, I can do like 3/4, and I can do. Of course there are like other time signatures than 4/4 that I could play in, but I didn't know what they were
right.
or how I was counting them. It was just kind of like I knew because I had heard it in other songs so many times. But yeah, I'm like trying to do some 9/8 stuff. And I'm really trying to I think the first step to being able to play drums and enjoy yourself is separating your right hand from your right foot and and making it so those two don't want to do the same thing all the time. Now I'm trying to like get my left hand to be like even half as like proficient as my right. Like,
right.
I can play like you do your 16 notes on a hi-hat with my right hand, no problem. Keep that time all day. But like if I'm gonna do it with my left hand, I have to like cut the tempo in half, and it's sloppy as fuck.
Right. Yeah. That's just I think that is that's like one of your things that's like motivating you, and which is I mean, out of everything we know that like biggest thing is if you're motivated and stuff to do whatever it takes to like learn that, and obviously like you said, you're better now than you ever were. Well, you have like some kind of motivation to do it.
Yeah, it's been very important. Like I want to be a drummer. Right,
which is so cool.
Yeah.
And but what's the reason why you want to do that now?
If I could go back and not have the 20-year break, like guitar is my main instrument. I think if anybody who knows me,
right?
Like if you were to ask like what's Tim's main instrument, they would say guitar. I think it would have been drum. I think I may have a more natural ability for drums than guitar.
Yeah, well that's like what you. Well, I don't know. You didn't start on it though, right?
No,
you had a set before I did.
Yeah, I got a set in 9th grade or 10th grade.
Yeah.
You weren't far after me, though.
No. Yeah, I remember after you'd gotten that was when I was like, this is so fun, so cool. Yeah.
And I guess one of the reasons I want to do it is because I think I have one album in my entire catalog that I've made that I feel like I did the thing that I was going for, and I love it, and I think it is as good as I think I can be. And I want to do that again.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to make something that is that weighted in my head, then I have to be good at all the stuff that I'm going to do on it.
Right. Yeah.
And plus, dude, playing drums is one of the most fun things.
Oh, it's so fun, yeah.
But I'm really glad that I did get into drums because it informed how I play guitar so much. I have a style. It's not my own style. It's like it's a category of guitar playing, but like certainly informed by being a drummer.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that, That would definitely, I mean, there's always going to be things that like translate with that, right? Like I remember one guy saying, who's a really good drummer, he also plays piano. He was saying,
also it makes me better at piano too.
Yeah, because he was like, well, if you think about it, piano is kind of a percussive instrument, means that they're hitting the keys or
the hammers hit.
Yeah. And he's like, and that's kind of how his whole way of going about it. He was like, I just looked at it like I'm playing the drums, kind of, like just tapping things though.
Yeah.
Well, that you can like cross between so many different instruments too has always been a thing that I've always been like, dang, how are you doing it, But you've just always dabbled in so many different things that you're able to get good at so many things, as far as I see.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you saying that. I don't know that I'm really. Well, I guess what are we using that for the baseline of good? But like, the only thing that I think I'm actually like, the only instrument I would say that I think I'm actually good at is guitar. I don't even think I'm really good at being a synthesist yet. I could fake it on bass and piano and drums. I'm better at drums than like drums second best, and then piano, and then bass. But yeah, I'm not like super great at any of them.
Yeah, I think that we're all our worst critic, though, right?
Yeah.
Or at least should be.
Yeah, for sure. Ooh, that spot. Oh.
Yeah. Now we're talking, folks.
I haven't even seen a single thing you've done. Oh my God.
You what's that?
I don't even know like how much tattoo you've given me. Where
We've
on my
got
body.
2 little lines on there.
Damn it.
That's it.
It's starting to get hot
And sweaty.
and sweaty.
And violent.
Jared this was in 6th grade, and I was little chubby sweet Timmy. I had never even smoking weed at this point. I'd maybe had like a sip of wine that my dad let me have. And Jared convinced his mom that I was doing heroin.
Well, he had done many drugs by that point.
And see, he does that, and he has this way of saying things that gets you to react in the exact way that somebody who did do the thing that they're denying would act. And like his mom was like, Timmy, no. And like just looking back, it's like, how the hell did you get her to? We were 12 years old in Cleveland, Washington. Like, I wouldn't know how to get heroin.
You liar.
Since I'm going to do a rapid fire memory lane. Feel free to like bust in and add your own. But Jared taught me how to ride a bike without training wheels. Mm-hmm. We had our first band was called Welfare.
Oh wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and it wasn't a band because we didn't have instruments. But yeah, I love that we had a band for a couple of years before we actually had a band.
Yeah, I think that's how it always starts with kids, though, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Because you're just excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of Silverchair.
Yep.
I think Silverchair did it for both of us.
Absolutely. Because they were young. They were good. I mean, they were.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, it gives you that idea that, oh, I could do it too.
Right, because we were 12 and they were 16, so we were like, okay, if they can do it, we can do it.
Yeah. All we had to do was learn how to play, though.
Mm-hmm. And then we decided, by the time we did have a band, that it would be a good idea to do like thrash metal. No like melodic singing. All I did was the scream. Like, I could do the roll, and I could do that. Can't do either of those anymore. And honestly, like, don't even know how I would begin to start trying to figure out how to do it again without just. But I didn't wreck my. I learned how to do it without ruining my voice.
Yeah, which isn't easy. I could never do it. That's for sure.
Well, that's the thing is you could. It's just I think it's whatever you prioritize and what are you most interested in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That was something that never like would have. I don't know. I think too because I wasn't like you're good at like being on stage and talking and yada yada, and that wasn't my thing. I think more singers lean towards being that extrovert.
Or like extroverts become singers.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
And also just like constant seeking of approval and validation. I think that is also a characteristic of a lot of singers.
Right.
Writers. It certainly was for me, and one of the reasons I stopped. Like I feel like, you know, there are just certain realizations you have in life where like you get a view from a vantage point that like you can't unsee. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I just got a view of like who I was or who I wanted to be or who I thought I wanted to be or who I thought I was, all of this, and I was just like, I just felt like all of my motivation for a lot of this and it just kind of grossed me out. I was like, I don't want to be that person. That's like kind of weird and needy and you know, it all comes from like.
Yeah. Well, it was probably from like all the drug use you did when you were young, doing heroin. Like when I told my mom, you guys, it
almost made me spit coffee
was
all over.
Definitely part of it. You know, you were lost, and I was your good friend.
I was lost.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, that's fucking funny. So, Jared,
Yes.
For anybody out there listening or watching that lives in the Pacific Northwest and checks out your stuff and is like, I would like to get a tattoo from that guy, how would one go about that?
Well, I think first thing would be is I always tell people, make sure that I'm in the style that you'd like. So I'd say go onto my Instagram. It's @JaredTattoo.
Link in the show notes.
What's that?
It said link in the show notes.
Cool. And that way you can look at my portfolio of stuff and say, yeah, I'd kind of like something in his style before just jumping on, wanting to get a tattoo. Because I only do pretty much realism anymore, black and gray or color for the most part. And then you can, when you see that, you can just DM me on there, or you can also email me, which is at JaredJCarter @yahoo.com.
Yahoo. Wow.
Yeah, I'm old school.
Damn. Yeah, that'll be in the show notes as well. Oh, and also we should probably mention that Jared operates out of Ellensburg, Washington.
Yep. And it's by appointment only. It's like, as you see, it's a private little studio in here that I got going on. And typically all my stuff too is bigger things. Like I typically work on like half sleeves or above, like from shoulder to elbow is what I usually do.
Yeah,
so.
I was going through your Instagram to like find the photos I want to insert into the episode, and one of the things I noticed, like, damn, these are all like huge. And you did two Jordan ones. The one where he's like, I think he's holding a trophy and like doing a peace sign or something, or like he's got a hat on. He's not the one where he's not playing. Like that one is just insane.
Thank you. Yeah, there's more Jordan ones. I just haven't uploaded them yet. Okay. I need to get on that.
I might ask you to send me some high res or more high res than screenshots from Instagram.
Yeah, I could do that. But yeah, pretty much like. That's the biggest thing too about getting a tattoo is, I'll have people ask me to do something, let's say in like a traditional style, and I'll point them in the direction of somebody who would be better at it than me. I'm not here to just like do something to get some money. I want to do stuff that makes me go in the direction I'm wanting to go as an artist, and also that I know I'll do the best job for that person and myself, because and I love that that's important to you, like because you want your heart to be in it, because it's going to be on somebody forever, and and I think it's a thing of like I've learned over the years when I don't, especially in those first few years, it was like when I didn't do something that was like how I wanted it done or whatever, or as good as I should have, it like depressed me for like weeks.
I feel that way about live performances. I still have yet to play a live performance with Modular that I'm really like, that was fucking rad. But I have got to the point where I'm like, I had a few fucking rad moments in that one. It's important to, I think anybody who's going to be doing something professionally, or if you really care about it, I guess is what I'm saying, you're going to do a good job. And you'll turn down the things that you're not good at. So totally. Oh,
there we go. Now we're talking.
Yeah. You were on that spot earlier, huh?
Yeah.
Back to a spot.
I purposely just went back there.
Thank you. You were so kind.
Yeah.
Well, maybe to take us in for the landing, since we're about to be, done with our session here, and definitely got enough for a full episode. But do you want to land us with maybe one of your favorite childhood Timmy Jared stories, Bear Cougar stories?
Oh,
you can embarrass me too. If you
I
want.
can?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, sick.
That's like I wouldn't ask you that question if that was a part of it, because I didn't, you wouldn't. I feel like you were definitely going to think of one that would be embarrassing for you.
Totally.
So.
Yeah. What would be a good one?
It doesn't have to be embarrassing. I'm just saying it can be if that's what pops in.
I would say one of my favorite ones was when me and Brian took you up.
God damn it! I
on
knew
the
it was gonna be this one.
It was either this one or it was going to be one of the times where your dad had to spank you and Lonnie, or you and Kelsey. I think it was you and Kelsey. Like that one was good too. Basically spanked him with a yardstick. And I remember I was sitting on the couch because I basically lived at their house too.
It was very thin. It was more of a scare tactic, but yeah.
It was more of a scare tactic.
We're from the spanking generation.
And it was wonderful to watch.
You are such a psychopath. I love it.
Right. So there was that, and watching you put your hands behind to guard your butt, and then he smacked you on the hands, and then he quickly, as your hands hurt, and you put them in front of you, he smacked you again on the butt. And I just got to sit on the couch, and I'm sure I was part of the problem
this
too.
Must have been like 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah, we were young.
Super young.
But there was that. That was a cool story I was thinking of picking from. But the best one was definitely when me and Brian took you up on the ridge. We were all up there hanging out, and you said
you guys wanted to go smoke weed. I was not smoking weed at this point, but we had to go be like.
I think it was the cigarettes.
No, it was weed because I remember you guys were smoking it out of a pop can.
Oh, okay. that could have happened.
So back in the day.
Yeah, Brian talked me into that.
You would take a pop can, an empty one, and you'd like crumple, like make a little divot in it. You'd poke holes, and you'd poke a hole in the side.
Yeah.
And then that was a pipe to smoke the pops out of.
Yeah.
That's what Cle Elum kids did.
But I remember you said you needed to go take a poop, and we were like, we're not going back, and I think your mom was hanging out at my house.
And it would have been weird if I would have been back. And
yeah, and I was like, fine, if you go back. I was like, just remember there's dogs on the way, and you could get bit if you don't go the right way. And he got all scared. So he went in the woods, and then he used his underpants as toilet paper.
There was nothing else.
Yeah, and then me and Brian, being the nice friends we are, right when he was done, we were like, all right, we can go home.
It's so fucked up. So messed up. I don't know if I want to have a poop story on the podcast.
But that created good character out of you.
Yeah, I think so. Well,
which was good.
It is going to be deep in the episode, so I
right.
guess it'll be all right.
If nothing else, it's a piece of video you can hold on to for a long time.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was a good one. So, to just to underscore me being scared part, for anybody who knows the movie Stand By Me, where Jerry O'Connell played the character Vern, who was the chubby friend who was always afraid of everything. You called me Vern quite a bit because I was I don't know, guys, I don't want to get in trouble kid. Like, I was always the one worried we were going to get in trouble.
Yeah. That is so true. It was a very fitting name at that time.
It was.
What's one of your favorite childhood stories, Timmy?
I remember when you first got your license, our dads drove us to Seattle to pick up a little Chevy S10.
Yeah.
That was your first vehicle, and we got to just, you and I, ride back from Seattle in the S10 over the pass, over Snoqualmie Pass, back to Cle Elum. And I remember we were just like smoking cigarettes, 16 years old, smoking cigarettes, and I think you were, maybe Brian or Manny beat you because your birthday's a little after them, but I feel like you were the first. I think that was the first like car ride I had ridden in with just me and a friend.
Right. Yeah.
And that had such a distinct smell, that truck, because it had that like weird vinyl seating.
Yeah.
That, mixed with cigarette smoke, like, just, man, what a nostalgic.
Yeah.
They should make a scented candle that smells like a 1991 Chevy S10 that's been smoked in for 10 years.
I also remember when I got that truck that there was a cassette player in it.
Oh, nice.
And
What cassette? I'm so excited.
What's that?
Which one was in there?
There was Def Leppard, and then there was Ozzy Osbourne, and I listened to those two cassettes so many times because that was all I had for the longest time. And it was like...
Which Ozzy?
Bark at the Moon or whatever, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Randy Rhoads era, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Crazy Train was on there. Yeah.
Oh, Crazy Train was on it?
Yeah.
I don't think that's Bark at the Moon, is
What,
it?
wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know, actually. No. Did it have Mr. Crowley?
God, I can't remember now. I just remember Ozzy was on there. I know it had Crazy Train.
Man. I thought Blizzard of Oz was the one with Crazy Train.
Maybe that's what it was.
I think it was Blizzard of
Gosh,
Oz.
I can't remember. And then, yeah, one of the Def Leppard albums,
Hysteria or Pyromania? God, I can't believe I just pulled those out.
No kidding. I don't even remember, and I had them. But I just remember, like, actually, you know, I didn't really listen to a ton of either of those bands before that, but then it was kind of like, yeah, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
And I was just happy to have some music in a truck, you know?
Yeah. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But Jared, thank you so much for tattooing me and letting me bring my little studio in and letting me talk with you and
yeah, brother, of course.
And,
was fun.
Sharing your wisdom with the pod mod bods out there.
Yeah, thank you guys. And I had fun just reminiscing too, man. That was cool. And it's like motivating just to talk about art again, you know?
Yeah.
With you.
We got to get that. We got to get your cougar out. I know that's gonna be tough because it's, it's on the top of your thigh or
it is
above your knee or something.
That camera ready.
Oh. Yeah, I did that, babe. Have you seen this?
Thing dreams are made of.
You did that?
I did that tattoo.
Amazing.
And my version is right there.
They're just both beautiful.
The one Jared did turned out a little better, I think.
I don't know. I like them both. They both look like they're sneezing.
They both look like they're sneezing. That's true. All right, that's our show. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Jared for being my guest. All links to Jared's stuff in the show notes, as well as links to all the sponsors. Thanks again to Signal Sounds, Knobula, Bastel, Novation, 4MS, Expert Sleepers, and Patchworks. Also, thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon. If you would like to help out, head over to patreon.com/PodularModcast. This week's secret word is typecast. Until next week.